Good evening, class 10th. Today I have brought to you the poem Dust of Snow by Robert Frost from your textbook First Flight. I am quite sure that you must be familiar with the poet Robert Frost because in class 9th you read his poem The Road Not Taken. The Road Not Taken, the poem, was based on the philosophy that in our life we have many choices, but we have to opt for one. So we have to be very carefully, and life is not so easy. Just like Dust of Snow, the poem that you are just like The Road Not Taken, the poem Dust of Snow also brings a philosophy of life. The Road Not Taken had taken place in autumn season. In this poem, Dust of Snow, the incident happens in the winter season, just as the title itself suggests. Before we start with the poem, let us talk a little bit more about the poet Robert Frost. Yes, Robert Frost was an American poet who was much admired for his depictions of the rural life of New England. His command of American colloquial speech meaning the speech, the local language which the people had been able to understand, and his realistic verse portraying ordinary people in everyday situations. His work was initially published in England before it was published in the United States. Let me remind you that The Road Not Taken was the outcome of this life experience. He was not successful in America, so he went to England. That is, he had walked on the second road. That was different. There he was recognized, he earned name and fame, and then he came back to his native land, that is the first road, that is America. Now he got the name and fame there also. Let us find out what the poet says in this poem, Dust of Snow. Dust of snow, the way a crow swooped down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Here is a small introduction and a brief outline of the poem, which would help you in comprehending and understanding the idea that the poet has tried to bring in. The poem is a simple and short poem, but carries a deeper and larger meaning. The poet has tried to convey that sometimes even a small incident may prove to be of a larger significance. Yes, this is the idea that the poet wants to convey through this poem. The poet is upset in the beginning of the poem, but a small incident of falling of snow changes his mood totally. In the end of the poem, he feels relaxed and thankful to the nature for saving his day from being wasted. A small incident, but it has completely changed him. What the poet is trying to say, sometimes something which appears to be worthless or unimportant is not necessarily really worthless. Sometimes that worthless, appearing to be worthless thing also turns out to be very important, very significant in our life. The poet's mood is changed, so he is thankful to the nature. He means to say we should value whatever we get. The message of the poem is put into words by Robert Frost, always, always a larger significance. A little thing touches a larger thing, meaning everything has a large significance. It is not necessary that something which is small is not significant. You don't know how larger the significance, how stronger an impact that small thing has on our life. Now let us read the two stanzas. There are only two stanzas, a very short poem. Here is the first stanza. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. The poet has made the poem, composed the poem, lyrical, rhythmic. He has added rhyme in the poem. See the last words of the four-lined stanza. Crow rhyming with snow. Me rhyming with tree. In this way, it becomes a small but rhythmic poem. So there is the rhyming scheme. Please identify that. The way a crow shook down on me. The dust of snow. The dust of snow suggests that it was a winter season. And the poet was sitting outside under a hemlock tree. Now, hemlock tree and crow both are the agents of nature and both carry negative connotation. Negative connotation meaning negative feeling they express. Mostly the poets choose the beautiful birds and trees, but the poet has deliberately chosen crow, though crow is symbolic of doom, negativity. And hemlock tree has many varieties, but the particular tree the poet has chosen, this is a poisonous hemlock tree. So this also symbolizes death. But the poet has used these two deliberately. Why? That we will read later. So the poet was sitting under a hemlock tree, and there came a crow. Crow sat on the branch of the tree, shook the branch of the tree. As a result, the dust of snow. Dust is the small particles of the snow. Dust is usually the dust of soil, we know. Now, those small particles of snow, the poet has compared them with the dust. Just as the dust flies, the dust spreads. Similarly, the action of the crow has shaken, has spread, has made the dust, those small particles of snow, fall on the poet who was sitting under the tree. Now, why the crow had shaken? Was the crow preening? Was the crow just shaking or shivering or clearing his feathers? It is not known. But definitely the dust of snow had fallen on the poet because of the movement made by the crow. The poet, while sitting under the tree, was sad. Sad thoughts reflected in his mind. He was quite upset. So he had a very sulking mood. Right? Now, here is the explanation that I have written. I would like you to read, or let us summarize the idea that lies in these four lines. This incident takes place in winters. As there is snow on the hemlock tree, a poisonous tree. The poet is standing under the tree. He is sad and upset. A crow sitting on a branch of the tree shakes it, and there falls the dust of snow on the poet. He shakes the branch of the tree. Maybe he is trying to fly off. Maybe the crow has just come and perched on the branch of the tree. As a result, the branch was shaken, and then the dust of snow fell on the poet. Both the crow and the tree are the agents of nature, and both symbolize sadness and negativity. In the first line, the way a crow, the poet also thinks that the crow is a bad omen. Yes, children, crow is considered a bad omen. Generally, the poets choose beautiful birds like nightingale, skylark, cuckoo, etc. And the trees like maple trees. But here, the poet has purposely chosen the crow and the hemlock tree. Why? Because he wants to convey that everything is important. Everything that nature gives us is important. This is the way we think that the crow stands for negativity or hemlock stands for negativity. There might be some conflicting thoughts in his mind, but the crow's action has an impact on the poet. He was sad at that time. He was upset at that time. But he was shaken. He was stirred. He was swayed by the crow's action. That is, when the crow moved, the dust of snow fell on him. He just came out of that sad reflection in his mind. His mind swayed from that sad moment and mood that he had. His mind drifted from there. Just try to think over, students. Doesn't it happen many a times? You are sad while sitting at home. You are upset about something. You are getting very agitated. And after some time, you hear the doorbell rung by someone. You open the door. You have a beautiful guest. You have a conversation with the guest. You just forget that very moment. You just forget those conflicting thoughts and you become happy again. So, what it is that this is called transition. This is called transition from one state of mind, you go into the other state of mind. You need something or someone to break this chain of the same sad events or sad reflection that is happening. I hope it is clear to you. Now let's go to the second stanza. In stanza 2, the 4 lines are, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had viewed. In the last 4 lines also, there is rhythm, heart, part, mood, rude. Now the second stanza is the continuation of the first stanza, the last line of the first stanza, when he says the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood. The poet was upset, sad, so he says that his mood has changed. Now, what do you think would have happened? What kind of change? Of course, he must have been happy. Has given my heart a change of mood. Now, heart, children, does not mean only heart or soul or heart and mind. It means a person, the whole personality. What he means to say that the crow had shaken and made the dust fall on the poet. As a result, he just got relieved of that sad mood. And he could change his mood. He could bring a change in himself and saved some part of a day I had rued. Rued meaning feeling regretful. Something might have happened with the poet that made him sad. The reason has not been mentioned here, whatever the reason could be. But the poet must have been quite regretful of that sad experience. He had been sulking and sulking. He had been angry. He had been sad. He must have been frustrated because of that sad experience. So, in this way, half of the day or some part of the day he had wasted in regretting. He had wasted in regretting. He had wasted in sulking. And now, when his mood has changed, the transition has happened from the sad mood to the happy mood. The poet is hopeful that the crow had helped me to save some part of the day. What is that some part of the day? That some part of the day is the remaining part of the day. The poet is quite hopeful. Whatever the part of the day has got wasted, has wasted. But now his mood is changed. Now he is no more regretful. Now he is not going to waste the remaining part of his day, the remaining time of his life, because he has become happy. He has forgotten that sad experience. So when he says, saved some part of a day I had rued, indirectly, the poet is expressing his gratitude to the crow, to the nature, to the tree, because the crow, the tree, both had played an important role in changing his mood. Just imagine, students, if the hemlock tree had not been there, the poet would not have been sitting under the tree. If the hemlock tree had not been there, the crow would not have come there and the crow would not have perched on the tree. And then the crow would not have thrown the dust of snow on the poet. And the poet's mood would not have changed. So the poet is right that when he says that the crow and hemlock tree have changed his mood, meaning the nature has changed his mood. Nature has made him cheerful. Nature has made him happy. So the poet started the poem with a negative feeling, but towards the end, he becomes very positive. He is quite an optimistic. His perception of the crow and the hemlock changes, and he wants the readers also to think the same way. Right? Now, here is the explanation that I have written. Yes, in this stanza, the poet expresses how the crow has changed his mood. The reason why the poet was upset is not known, but he got relieved of the reflection of sad thoughts. Had he not been sitting under that tree and the crow had not shaken the snow, perhaps he would not have got this transition. He had a terrible day, but now it was saved by the crow and the hemlock tree. He had been regretting for something unknown to us, to the readers, and thus had wasted his time by sulking. By sulking meaning by getting depressed, by getting sad, by getting frustrated, in desperation. The crow's action of throwing snow, dust on him, had saved his day as he was no more sad now. The crow, a harbinger of doom and fear. Yes, the crow is called a harbinger of doom and fear, a symbol of doom and fear, destruction, fear, becomes a catalyst for positive change. Now he becomes the source of positivity for the poet. So now the poet does not consider him a bad omen, neither the crow nor the hemlock tree. So here the poet has actually tried to convey to the readers that the crow and the hemlock that appear to be negative elements of nature, that appear to be standing for doom, destruction, death, how much positivity actually they carry, how they can also transform one's life from sad into happy. So we must value, we must give importance to each and everything that we have around. That's all in the poem, children. But here is the theme of the poem. The poet has tried to convey to us that nature has healing and curing power. How is it? The poet was sad, and how the nature has cured the poet of that sadness and made him happy. Small events in a person's life can have a larger significance. What appears to be small might be having a great significance in our life. We are not aware of it. One should hope for the best even in the worst situations. Therefore, even when there are the direst situations, in the time of crisis also, we should not give up hope. And when can it be possible? When we have a positive attitude, when we are optimistic. So the poet ends the poem on an optimistic note. However, the poet has cleverly used these symbols or bad omens to signify that inauspicious things can bring joy and happiness too. Yes, children, you see that sometimes there are so many things around us, those which are bitter in taste, right? But actually, they are very useful, they are very beneficial for us. So it is not necessary that what appears to be bitter is not tasteful. That bears the taste for us. How? By giving us the benefits. Thus, the poem teaches us a lesson that we must not take things for granted, but should be open and accept whichever way nature chooses to bless us. Right? Now, let us talk about the poetic devices used in the poem. First of all, the poet has used alliteration. In the first stanza, you will find in in the first stanza, sorry, in the second stanza, in the first line, you will find alliteration, has given my heart. How is it alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of same consonant sound in the nearby words, in the same context. So here in the second stanza, in the first line, the two words has heart. H in both the words has the same sound, has, heart, right? Similarly, in the third line of the second stanza, and saved some part, saved some. In both the words, the first syllable is S and both have the same sound, save, some. Sir sound is there, right? Another poetic device used here is enjambment. What is enjambment? When a sentence continues to the next line without any punctuation marks, that signifies the continuity of the thought. And this is what has happened in this poem, Dust of Snow. If you look at the poem carefully, you all must be having the textbook with you right now. Just look at the poem. You will find no punctuation marks have been used anywhere except towards the end. I had rued full stop. So why no punctuation marks? Because it signifies the continuity of the same thought. So the entire poem has enjambment. So if you are asked any particular line to identify the poetic device, and in the choices, if it is given enjambment, yes, you can go for the same. Another important poetic devices, inversion. Perhaps it is new for you. Inversion is when the structure of the sentence is changed in order to create a rhyme. Then it is called inversion. The poet has done the same in the poem. For example, the very first stanza, if you take up, the way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. The poet has changed the sentence structure deliberately to give the rhyming scheme. Otherwise, the poet could also say, the way a crow shook down dust of snow on me, or the way a crow from a hemlock tree shook down the dust of snow on me, right? But the poet has not done. He has deliberately changed the sentence structure in order to add rhythm to it. Crow, snow, me, tree. The same thing inversion you will find in the second stanza also, when he says, has given my heart a change of mood and sailed some part of a day I had rued. In the first two lines of the second stanza, because they are the continuity of the first one. Yes, the next is irony. Irony is the contrast, the difference between reality and expectation. What we think and what happens, the difference between the two, that is called irony. And here, the significant role of the crow, and I would say, of course, the hemlock tree also, that is ironical. Why? The crow appears to be inauspicious. The crow appears to be the harbinger of doom and fear and negativity. But here in the poem, in reality, the crow has brought happiness. So the crow had not been proved inauspicious, but the crow had been proved auspicious. The next is metaphor. Metaphor is an indirect comparison between two different things or ideas. And when we make this comparison, we do not use the words as or like, right? So here is one example of the metaphor, the dust of snow. Now those particles of snow which fell on the poet, they were not dust, but the poet has compared those particles, those snowflakes actually, they were snowflakes. So the poet has compared those snowflakes with the dust. So instead of saying, if the poet had said that the snowflakes like the dust fell down on me, then it would have been simile. But instead the poet says, the dust of snow falling on me, meaning the snowflakes like the dust. So this is indirect comparison. Now the next is rhyming scheme. We have already discussed the rhyming scheme in both the stanzas. and the rhyming scheme is A, B, A, B. Just read in your textbook, you will find crow, me, snow, tree. Crow, A, me, B. Snow rhymes with crow, that is A, so it is A. Tree rhymes with me, that is B, so it is B. A, B, A, B. It goes on the same way in the second stanza as well. The next is symbolism. Symbolism is a use of a symbolic image to express ideas or qualities. Now here Hamelok symbolizes death. It's a poisonous tree, so it symbolizes death, meaning whosoever consumes it would die. And crow, that symbolizes bad luck and doom. We are always excited to hear the sweet voice of the nightingale. When the crow crows, do we ever say the melody of the crow or the sweet voice of the crow? No, we don't. And in this way, the crow gives us a negative connotation, a negative feeling. So it is symbolic of bad luck and doom. The last one is scenic ducky. Scenic ducky is using a part to represent the whole. In the second stanza, the first line has given my heart. Heart is one part of the body. But in the poem, it does not represent one part. Actually, it represents the whole person. It does not represent only the heart and soul of the poet or the speaker. It represents the poet as a person. It represents a human, the personality of a person. So that is how this is scenic ducky. I hope it is clear to all of you, right? That's all. We will conclude it here. And thank you very much. Thank you very much. I will share with you soon the exercises which you must do. Till then, goodbye.